Welcome to Chillin' with Ice with me, Lori Fetrick, or most of you know me as Ice from the American Gladiators. Thank you for joining me on this podcast where we're going to dive in and go behind the scenes on the #1 hit iconic show of the 90s. It's time to get up close and personal on what drove us to be gladiators, what challenges we faced, and how we overcame to reach all of our goals. I know in this first season, inquiring minds want to know, was there drama, fights, hookups? Are we all still friends? What did we do in our personal lives, and how are we staying in such good shape years later? Well, stay right here and let's get into Chillin' with Ice. Before we dive into our incredible episode today, I want to let you know that this is a self-funded podcast and I would love your support. For the cost of a cup of coffee a month, you can donate to my Patreon page, and that would make all the difference in the world. For the small donation, you will get back so much in rewards. Like you can watch all of my podcasts on video. I will have exclusive content like behind the scenes footage, a private Facebook group where you can interact with me directly and other VIP fans, a monthly Q&A, direct shout outs and follows from me to you on your social media, and so much more. Find me on Patreon at Chillin' with Ice or click the link in the show notes now. Okay, let's dive in. I'm very excited to introduce my next guest. She was actually named an All-American at the University of Nebraska for track and field. She's an amazing athlete. She's got an amazing voice. This woman could cook like nobody else. I'm super excited to bring on my teammate, Debbie Clark, known as Storm from the American Gladiators. Woo-hoo!
Yeah. Woo!
Hey, girl, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing, Boo?
I haven't seen you in so many years. It's been unbelievable. I mean,
I
just
know, right?
time has went so
I
fast.
truly miss you.
I know,
I'm
I
sorry?
miss you. I said time has went so fast. It's unbelievable.
Yes.
You know, it's like,
Yes.
what, it's been 33 years since the actual Gladiator show.
Wow.
33 years. I don't know
Well,
about
and
you,
it's
but
funny that you're doing it now because 33 is supposed to be a number.
there we go. It's all about
Yeah.
that, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are so many, I have so much to talk to you about that I know it's going to be hard to condense it in 1 hour, you know?
Right.
But I mean, let's talk about, like, for instance, I mean, you said you just got back from the doctors. You had a pacemaker put in. Let's talk about what happened?
So with my pacemaker, yeah, I think it started. I don't have like a heart disease.
Mm-hmm.
I did something I think really stupid.
No.
And when we were doing The Gladiator, getting ready to do the documentary, because of my 5 knee replacements, I've lost weight.
Mhm.
Now, I'm not a woman that wants to lose weight. People
Okay.
say I look great. I think I'm too thin. But I tried to, for the first time, I tried to do growth hormone.
Okay.
And, and I think that ever since then, that's when my heart's been acting up.
Wow. That's kind of scary. I mean,
Yeah.
how did you realize something was really off and wrong? What happened?
Well, because I was fainting a
Oh,
lot.
okay.
And yeah, and the reason, but because of my fainting was because my heart was stopping.
That's insane.
But it's also the problem is that because of my 5 knee replacements, being a life fitness recovery coach, it's putting so much stress on my heart and my body because I still continue to be very active. You know, I'm not the type to sit home and eating bonbons. So because of that, and I think definitely the growth, I was passing out.
Wow.
And
That's
I
crazy.
finally, what they determined was I went to the store, which is about 2.5 miles away, ran to the store on 5 knee replacements. Then on my way back, I didn't feel right.
Mm.
So I had a bridge to have to go over because we're right on the water.
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't feel right. So I called 911 myself. And I had a bag full of one of my son's best friends is one of the extras in The Living Dead. And he was in town and I was going to make a really special meal, which I do with and it was going to be Valentine's Day. But I had a bunch of stuff, but I never made it over the bridge.
Wow.
And they said, no, I said, can I just, not realizing how my heart is, I'm like, can I just drop it off? They're like, no, we have to get you to the hospital immediately.
It's like you're going now.
So when I went to the hospital, they continued to watch me, monitor me, and realize that my heart was stopping because I already had a loop recorder in. And a loop recorder is a small device that they put right underneath the skin.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a smaller one, and it's not attached to the heart like the pacemaker is. But it sits there and it tells you. I've gotten a couple of calls that they're like, do you remember this? I'm like, no. They're like, well, your heart stopped for this amount of time last night, unusually. So they were trying to get me in, I think, prior, but I wasn't going.
You're so
So I
lucky.
had to get knocked down, I guess.
You're so lucky that you actually went and took care of that. Now, you were talking about your 5 knee replacements. Do you think that started in track and field? I mean,
Well, the thing is, I remember when I was in high school playing soccer, I remember one of my knees going out.
mm,
And I remember also because riding, so like horse riding can really mess up people's knees
oh yeah.
if you do it excessively.
Hmm.
So that on top of being an athlete at such a young age, and so being an all-American, all-star, being competing against guys because girls were tough enough for me.
Right.
I think that had a lot because I was very young doing so much that I think my muscles and my body didn't develop, quick enough.
Hmm.
So it put a lot of wear and tear on my body. And so, yeah, I think it did have a lot to do with it.
So by the time
Being younger and doing that.
So by the time you got to Gladiators and you were hitting and falling and everything else, it just totally screwed up your knees.
Totally. Because you remember when we were on the tour at Hartford Civic Center, I blew out. That's when my knee popped. Because I think you pushed a Contender into my knee when I was about to body slam a Contender, and it just it snapped. But you know me, I went out and I told them just wrap it up, wrap it up, wrap it up, and they wrapped it up. But I told them for Lisa at least a month to just wrap it up. But it got to the point where it was just I was gonna do more damage, and then that's when they forced me off the tour. I got it done at Curlin and Job in Inglewood, the knee replacement. And then I was back about a month and a half later.
Right. And aren't you supposed to let it heal for 6 months, a year before you actually
supposed to.
Yeah, I know. But you don't do anything you're supposed to do.
No, I'm not a supposed to type of girl.
Oh my God. How long were you on the tour? Were you, okay, so you got hit off because of your knee,
Right.
but weren't you on, I thought you were on almost the full time.
No, I was off, and then I off for just about a month,
Okay.
and then I came back.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's not that bad.
Yeah.
Let's go back a little bit. And
Yeah.
because I was reading something about how you came out to Cali and one of the producers saw you and wanted you to come in and try out for Gladiators. I really, truly never even heard that story. So how did you get on that show?
I was just doing a run, and I was just jogging, and I think it was Brian
Gadinsky?
who noticed me. He asked me, he saw me,
Mm-hmm.
and gave me his card and asked if I would be willing to try out for the Gladiators. But I didn't want to try out to be a gladiator, Lori. I wanted to kick your ass. I wanted to get on this show to kick the gladiators' asses. But in turn, I think I was too good, and they wouldn't let me.
Oh,
So they asked me if I would be, if I wanted to be gladiator.
Yeah, I don't think I would have wanted to go up against you. Not at all. I mean, Peggy Odita
You were my
was one.
target, and then you become my best friend. How's that?
I was your target?
Well,
Damn.
if I was to be a Contender,
Yeah.
you were definitely the one that I wanted to be.
I remember, I don't know if you remember, but some of the contenders, before the show, they were they'd get all cocky and come up and go, you know what? I always wanted to kick your ass. And I just laugh and go, whatever, bring it on, motherfucker. Let's go. They were always
Yeah,
like that.
and remember,
And remember, when the lights and the cameras would hit them, all of a sudden they'd get all kind of nervous and freeze because they weren't so used to being on television. I was like, yeah, that's what I thought, motherfucker.
and the thing is, it's not so easy. It's
No.
not as easy as it looks.
No, but I remember some of them would come up and then some of them, remember, they'd be all cocky and we'd get together as kind of like a small group and go, she's going down. We just kind of
remember, we used to make bets
Yes.
when the Gladiators,
Yes.
saying how we were going to take them down and who we were going to take down.
Oh my God.
That geared us up. That fuel to the fire.
Oh man, it sure did. And it's so funny because right when you mentioned Brian Gadinsky, you know what I thought of? He came into my mind and all I remember is those damn Hawaiian shorts that he used to wear in the locker room.
He was dorky.
He was such a dork. He was such a dork, but man, I mean, so do you think that like there was some serious drama or competition between the girls? Come on.
Well, on the set?
Yeah. Behind the
thing
scenes, on the set, on the tour. Come on. We know there was.
Yeah, but the thing is, I'll tell you, Lori, I get that asked all the time. But as far as a group goes, you, me, Diamond, Zap, Shirley, even Shelley. There was a time where we got along wonderfully.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like no drama. I heard about drama after I left the show, and heard drama before I was on the show. But I got to be honest, you and we didn't have a lot of drama. We were like really focused on becoming a unit, and I think that's why at that time, there's a time when we truly did bond, and we really had each other's back, and we really we rooted for each other.
Oh,
Not only on stage, but off. Because I don't know if you remember the time that I needed you, and you were there for me.
Absolutely, I do.
Because I was having relationship problems, and I remember having to jump off my second floor balcony, get on my motorcycle, which we also had in common. Because remember, you and I did the Sandra Bernhardt documentary?
Yeah, that's when I had my Harley Davidson.
Exactly. And she asked us if we would be willing, because there were a couple of other Harley chicks, if we would be willing to escort her through Hollywood Hills in her little red Corvette.
I remember that.
Yeah.
That was so cool.
Because she worked out at the same Gold's Gym that you and I worked out at.
Yep. Whatever happened to her?
Yeah. And she asked us to do that. But we bonded. And there was that time that I really needed you, because I was like in a relationship, and I went to your house. I called you and you're like, Storm, Deb, yeah, you're more than welcome to come over. So you came over. So I came over and you really helped me. But then when I got back, I didn't realize the person I was in a relationship with ended up calling my parents and telling them about my sexuality and everything, that things that I told her about my incest as a child, she wanted to sit there and tell my parents.
Wow. People on the outside, it's just, I actually got outed when I was in high school by a girl that was very jealous of a relationship that I was in. And she called my mom. I was in high school. Why? I don't understand people, but that's on them, whatever.
But it's unfortunate that, in our situation, even I don't know if you want to talk about it now on the show, we weren't really able to be us.
No, we weren't. Absolutely. I don't know what happened and what you went through as far as being gay and what they stopped you from, or if they even tried to, whatever. But I remember I had a manager at one point in time when I was on the Gladiators, and there's other people on the Gladiators. I was not supposed to be gay, But it was like at that time, it was not cool to be gay, and you weren't supposed to say anything. You weren't supposed to talk about it. And I was
And
told
we couldn't bring our girlfriends around the
no,
set.
I was told
We
that it
couldn't
would
bring them
kill
to
my
our personal
career.
appearances.
Mm-hmm.
I remember we did a Ronald McDonald gig,
Mm-hmm.
and they told us specifically, because of its children,
Yeah.
they told us specifically we weren't able to bring our girlfriends around.
Yeah, they did not want our girlfriends around whatsoever. No, I mean, it was just the
No.
time. Think at the time, Deb. Think at the timing back then. Like being
Yeah.
gay was like taboo.
Yeah.
And the tides have turned. Today, it's almost like scary, ridiculous how things have changed.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Now
it's just
Hollywood
insane.
and now Hollywood and everything is all about being gay.
Oh, it's beyond that. You
Yeah.
know? It's
I know.
it's crazy. That's a whole nother podcast, but
That totally is. And how far the transgender community has reached.
don't
Like,
even. I don't know.
it's reached to the top.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't mind even discussing that for a moment here. And that is, I don't know how you feel about that, but I am not super cool with the dudes going into the female athletic sports. No, no, no.
Okay, can I tell you?
Hmm.
When I was playing pro football, women's pro football
Okay.
for the Carolina Crusaders,
Mm-hmm.
that every time there was and I knew she was a trans,
Mm-hmm.
every time she would be in a position, my coach would put me there because I knew how to tackle, you know?
Right. But I mean, let's be honest. I mean, it's like the dude that took the swimming title. I mean, all these girls that have worked their asses off, you know, to become the best they could possibly be. And then a dude comes in and says, I identify as a woman now and I want to compete and I'm going to kick all your asses. And he did.
Can I just tell you two names?
Hmm.
Serena and Venus Williams.
What about him?
They were originally dudes.
Okay, we won't go there, but okay. Never
it's,
heard
it's
that.
food for thought, and think about it.
Okay. Interesting. But
Because
yeah,
that's why I lose. Like you said, you're right. It's no different than somebody taking steroids.
yeah, it's an unfair advantage. Let's just put it that way. And if you
Exactly.
want to compete naturally, I mean, that
Yes.
goes with everything, all sports, bodybuilding, everything. I mean, that's why it's like so many women don't even go into bodybuilding anymore because if you don't take steroids, you can't compete at all.
If you don't do what the big girls do, you're
Nope.
not gonna be up there.
You
it's
cannot
plain and
compete
simple. But
whatsoever.
that's the thing. Okay, bodybuilding, you have to do steroids
Absolutely.
to win. But athletics, you shouldn't have to.
No, not at all. It's
So
all
that's why I
on
love
you.
Athletics.
Yeah.
But the problem with us being athletes,
Mhm.
in my situation, I ran up against a lot of people. When they took the medals away from Marion Jones, they should have really looked and taken, because there's other athletes, female athletes,
Mhm.
that I know for sure that have done steroids.
Oh,
But the thing
absolutely.
is, for them to do that and for me to train my butt off 6 hours a day,
Mm.
and they only train 3,
Yeah.
but yet they're winning every time.
Yeah.
You're right. It's not there.
No, it's not. They always have an unfair advantage on that one. You know, it's crazy.
Totally.
Well, and that's like when they came in and they wanted to test for steroids with the Gladiators. I mean, that was all because of
McMahon
WWF.
went after the wrestlers.
I was going to say WWF, you know, and it was
Yeah.
like kind of stupid, but
Very stupid.
unbelievable. So tell me your most memorable moment on the tour.
My most memorable moment on the tour, or moments, honestly, Lori, was when you and I would, after the show, when you and I would go to the back of the bus in the lounge area, and because you and I were very faithful in relationships. You were, and I was, and we just would go to the back of the bus. We would spend our money on DVDs, you know, and watch movies and listen to music. I got to tell you, honestly, that's the most memorable time that I had bonding with you.
Do you remember Madison Square Gardens? We were sitting, you were there. You were there.
I know.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
There was like a bar outside of Madison Square Gardens. Me, you, Jamie, Jamie.
Okay.
I miss Jamie.
I do too. She was awesome. David Bischoff doesn't deserve her.
Oh my God. And we sat in that little bar and we were singing at the top of our lungs. It was like the Piano Man song.
Yes.
And it was
We were
it was so much fun. I remember that so distinctly because we were so excited to play at Madison Square Gardens. You
yes.
know, it was like the big, huge deal. And we were like right at that bar and it like the piano song came on and we were just like wailing and singing. And I can't totally remember that time. It was like such an amazing time.
And we just laughed and we didn't care.
Nope.
But you know, the thing I loved too about you, Lori, and I loved about me and when we got together, and I can't say this for all the gladiators because some of the gladiators, when a fan comes up and wants an autograph, regardless if we were coming off the bus, sometimes remember we would have to make our stops.
Oh yeah.
You know, or we would go to IHOP or whatever because breakfast was our biggest meal, you know, because we couldn't go home and eat because we were so tired.
Right.
But breakfast was like when we could really like, you know, it was early enough because it wouldn't affect us on our, you know, when we did our shows. But that was like our biggest time. And like people would come up to us and ask her for our autographs. Some of us would be very happy to give our autograph up. But some of the gladiators were just in a real bitchy mood and they're like, well, we don't have time. But I've never lost that and never lost the knowing that it's the fans that made us popular.
Oh, 100%. I'd have people ask me, does it bother you that they'd come up to you and ask you for your autograph if you were in the middle of dinner? And I'd be like, no, it's going to bother me when they stop asking.
Exactly.
You know, that was my whole thing always.
Yeah, and me too. And we would, no matter what would happen, we'd be more than happy to sign autographs and we'd be humble about it.
So when you were actually coming on the team, how was it coming into an established team already?
Well, thank goodness, like I said, I had been already an athlete like my whole life. You know, I know how it is to have to be in a team type of atmosphere. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because it was in my blood.
Right.
So to come on, I wasn't intimidated at all.
See, that's awesome.
You know, I was just actually hoping that I could bring my piece of pie to the table.
So if Gladiators
and
name
be the best at that piece of pie that I could to complement the team. I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to bump her out or bump her out. No, I was about what uniqueness, what a part of me, because there were tons of people that tried out for the position. And I was the only one who got it.
How many girls tried out when you were actually doing it? Do you remember?
Over 200.
Damn. Well, that's right. You were actually, when you were trying out, they actually thought possibly it was going to be for a contender. You're absolutely right. And there was like hundreds and hundreds of girls, but you stood out so much. Okay, they just threw you in the Gladiators.
Yeah, exactly.
Screw that shit. She's too good. Debbie, what do you think your life would have been like if you never went on to Gladiators?
It wouldn't be as full as it is now.
Where were you going before you actually went for tryouts?
Well, to be honest, I'll say this, which a lot of people don't know, but I was in a recovery home.
Okay.
When I tried out, and I was getting sober. I was in a recovery program. And when Julie Rush, Samuel Goldwyn's assistant, called, you know, like when I tried out, it was like, don't call us, we'll call you kind of thing.
It was always out, even with me. I think it's that way with everyone.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And, but I was like, it was about 2.5 days after I tried out, I got the call from Julie Rush. Actually, the director of the program answered the phone. And he said, his name was Mr. Wilson, awesome guy. He said, Miss Clark, can you come into my office? And I'm thinking, oh, I did something wrong. And he's like, this phone call's for you. And he handed me the phone. And it was like, hi, Debbie, it's Julie. I'm like, hi, Julie, how are you? She's like, I'm good. She's like, how are you? I said, I'm good. I remember it very well. He says, well, I'm calling for a reason. And I said, yeah. She said, I wanted to tell you congratulations. We chose you as a gladiator. And not only that, but we named you Storm. And I said, Julie, why did you name me Storm? She says, because you blew everybody away.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's how you got your name. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Damn.
I'm a little emotional.
Of course. I mean, that story is just amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
So now when you were in the height of Gladiators, let me ask you this. What was
Yeah.
probably the most memorable either celebrity or athlete that you actually met? Because we got to meet a handful of
I would
people.
say, well, I've met a few people. I've along the way, Sandra Bernhardt being definitely one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I met Madonna one time at Peanuts, the gay bar.
You went, wait a minute.
Um,
When were you? I was going to Peanuts. When were you going to Peanuts? Was it still open? I mean, I forgot when I stopped
it
going
was
to
still open
Peanuts.
just right at the right at the beginning before they closed. Well, right at the end of them,
And
but the
Madonna
beginning
was
of
in Peanuts. Holy shit. I picked the wrong
Madonna was
night.
in
I picked
Peanuts.
the wrong night.
I met Jennifer Lopez.
Oh, that would have been cool.
I met her. I met Will and Jada.
Nice.
I met Alan Thicke. Remember Robin Thicke's
Oh, yeah.
father?
Yeah.
He loved the show.
Cool.
I wish I had met the Clintons because Chelsea and President Clinton, that was their favorite show.
True.
I
Yeah,
wish I would.
that's true. I remember that. When he became
Yeah,
president, he said that. Yeah.
yeah. And oh, was it MC Hammer? That was on when we were on tour.
Yes.
He was touring. He was in an arena right before us,
Mm-hmm.
and he sang "Happy Birthday" to me. It
Oh,
was
that's
around my
amazing.
birthday,
Wow.
so it was MC Hammer. There was a few people that we met because our tour was on the same loop as theirs. I think one was Reba McEntire.
Mm-hmm.
I had the pleasure of meeting Joe Galante's wife when I was in Nashville, Tennessee. But it's like there's times where and what's his name? Kubin Jr.
Oh, yeah.
So my brother came into town to see me, and we went to the famous Japanese restaurant, Yamashiro's.
Yes.
And I was sitting at a booth. My back was towards the entryway. And I looked at my brother and his mouth opened wide. And I'm like, Steven, are you okay? And he was like, all he did was like, and I'm like, what's going on? And I turned around and it was Kubin Jr., the actor.
Mm-hmm.
And he was proposing to his girlfriend at that time. And so I went to him and he's like, I said, hi, I'm Storm. He goes, I know who you are. He said, I'm a fan. I said, can you do me a favor? Can you come and talk to my brother? Because he's a huge fan. And he was really nice enough to come and talk to my brother, Steven.
Isn't it mind blowing how like some of these big celebrities, that happened with me when I met Tom Hanks. He goes, I watch you. And it just was like, it's like, oh my God. It's kind of mind blowing when you think back on that. It was like they were watching us on television.
And it happened too with track and field.
Mm-hmm.
Me being a runner, after I stopped being a gladiator, I became a private coach.
Mm-hmm.
So I was at like the state meet with Valerie Briscoe Hooks. And for some reason she got to me or I got to her and she's like, oh my gosh, I love this show. I'm a huge fan. And this is like a woman that I looked up to because in track and field, she's big.
Yeah.
But she was nice enough to come to me and, and especially after we had that Olympian show.
Oh, I remember that.
Some of the big track people, remember?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Came on the show against us. It was kind of like when the NFL guys went against our guys. We had like some like Alice Brown and there were some big people, but they already knew us.
Well, there was also on the Olympic episode, I remember like Peekaboo Street. She was like a downhill gold medalist skier.
Right.
She came on. I mean,
Right.
There was a few people, and then I remembered I went back and I started looking at some of them. I didn't even realize wasn't there like a Playboy type of challenge or something along those lines?
Well, remember when we did was it Centerfold? I mean, it was a Playboy, either Playboy or it was one of those magazines
Yeah,
that we had our article in.
I think so. Yeah, exactly.
And I was a little frustrated because at the time, because they focused more on you guys with the blonde hair and the boobs. Because of the
Come
because
on,
of the
it's
content of
Playboy.
uh,
It was Playboy. They wanted to see the boobs.
they did, but you know what? They wrote about me.
See, that's
I was like,
perfect.
don't write about me if you're not taking my damn picture.
Right. I was never, they never like put any photos or anything in there. My photo was never taken and put in there.
Yeah,
So, you know.
yeah,
So
yeah,
when we were at the height of our career in Gladiators, was there
yeah.
something that you wanted to do to kind of like take your life to the next level? Did you want to, do movies, television, sing? I mean, dude, your voice is amazing. What did you
Thank you.
what did you want to do at the point? Because we knew it wasn't going to last forever.
Right,
I mean,
right.
even though we thought for a moment maybe it would, but
Yeah. I could have kept going.
right, exactly. But was there something that you wanted to do that you were thinking about when you were in the height of it and you were getting all the recognition? And I mean, it was pretty cool at the time. Was there something that you
Yeah,
thought?
we were like influencers. If I don't think American Ninja Warrior or any of those shows would exist without us,
Right, absolutely.
because we are pioneers.
Right.
But I wasn't really, at the time, like my mom, she wanted me to do like the tryout for the Tina Turner movie and stuff like that because of my body. But I'm not an actor. I'm not an actress. I mean, and so that was something I never thought about getting into movies or stuff like that. But I did think about voiceovers
Okay.
because of my voice,
Hmm.
and because a lot of people have talked to me about how sensual my voice is and how mesmerizing my voice is, and how I have a voice, and also singing,
Yeah.
you know, and I did try to pursue a singing career, but my thing was I tried to pursue a country singing career,
Okay.
which there's not a lot of blacks
Yeah.
in, in the country music industry, not at least then. But when I was in Nashville, Tennessee after the Gladiators, yeah, I tried. Well,
Mm,
I got some gigs. Like I was a judge for the Tennessee Titans football team cheerleaders,
cool.
which was probably the most tedious, boring thing I've ever done in my life. I was like, I would just be like, but because I'm not a cheerleader type,
Oh, come
but I
on,
gotta
rah
tell
rah. There you
you.
go. Exactly. Exactly.
No, I'm not the cheerleading type. I mean, I like a cheerleader, but I don't want to be one.
I know.
But I just, yeah, but I wanted to like pursue my singing
Right.
and do maybe some voiceovers. That's what I did want to do.
I tried to get into
But
voiceovers. That was a hard industry to get into.
yes,
Really
because
hard.
it's like being a stunt person.
Hmm.
There's connections and families.
Yeah.
They're very tight knit, and
Very.
they give each other jobs.
Yeah. It's like there's a handful. And so
Yeah,
that's how it was in the stunt industry as well. I wanted to go into the stunt industry, but everybody was like, no, it's really hard to get in. And you're right. There was this very, very small group, and all the jobs went out to them
yeah,
constantly. Yeah. It's hard.
and they had the bond,
Mhm.
and they looked after each other, and it was
Exactly.
very, very hard to get into. It would be like somebody. It would be like us,
Yeah.
gladiators.
Yeah.
Not everybody's meant to be a gladiator. Because I remember going against Sharon Bordeaux,
Hmm.
One of the Miss Olympias,
Yeah.
which I'm friends with.
Wait, so you actually tried out against Sharon?
Yes, we actually were together, and I remember the event we did, which for her was a bad mistake
Mm.
because remember when, and we do this in track and field. That's why. Remember when you have a bungee,
Hmm.
one person's in front has the bungee cord. They're facing forward,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a person behind them on a bungee
Right.
holding them.
Right.
And so the person in front would have to take off, and they would tell us when we could run. And then when they said to run, you had to keep up with the pull on the bungee.
Mm-hmm.
Now, not if you're not fast, like Sharon, she wasn't.
Oh, you just
She
went right
tumbled,
past
she
her.
said.
Did you just go right past her?
No. The problem is when it was time to switch,
Uh-huh.
and she was behind me, she couldn't keep up
Dude,
because I was too strong and I went too far.
You're probably
She-
dragging her.
No, she said she was like a piece of laundry in a dryer. And she ended up hurting her ankle, and she had to
Aw.
stop.
Oh, that's sad.
Well, I guess. But hey, at least I was able to cut out some of the competition.
You're terrible. Next. Oh my God.
But I love her to this day. And if I saw her, like we're still friends.
So what was the most amazing place you got to travel when we were doing Gladiators? Because we got to do personal appearances. And I mean, yeah, we had the tour. We traveled around the United States. But is there some place that actually sticks out in your mind that was like super cool to go to?
Well, I got to tell you, and it's kind of weird, but the Hartford Civic Center, because I'm from Connecticut.
That's not
So
weird.
people
That's
in
kind of cool.
Connecticut, yeah. And that's when my parents came.
Okay.
And yeah, that was the most, because people like already knew me.
Right. So of course that's going to be your most
So,
memorable. Yeah, it's cool.
which it's cool
Mm.
when you talk about memorable experiences, and I'm still getting them. I just got a Facebook request from somebody who I used to be at the high school that I went to. I used to be the assistant track coach there
Mm-hmm.
because I was so because my parents bought me. I had a private coach when I was younger. I competed at a very, very young age, so I knew more sometimes than the coaches did, and especially doing the pentathlon at the time, which is 5 events.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have the heptathlon until I went to college.
Oh,
But
okay.
even though that's being said, I still got a heptathlon scholarship. So that shows you how advanced I was.
Right.
But I have people today. I had this guy who just emailed me. I think his name was Mark. He says, Storm, I don't know if you remember me, but it was in the class of such and such. I wasn't that good of an athlete, but I remember the drills that you made us do, like the hills and stuff that I was taught to do.
Mm-hmm.
And he said it made him, in 1992, he became Athlete of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
And he went on to teach his son some of my techniques. And now he's a very elite triathlete.
Nice. Nice.
So it's nice. And like I was just telling you, when I went to the doctor's office, I went in, I was looking for a nurse when I had my pacemaker put in,
Mhm.
right? I was looking for a nurse that was really awesome and treated me really well. I wanted to see if she was there, when I had my appointment.
Mhm.
And I went into the office and I told her, I said, look, could you pull up Jessica's such and such? Because she was really awesome when I was in here. And so they sat there and they said, well, who are you? And I said, well, I'm Debbie Clark, but I also go as the name of Storm. And the receptionist, she jumped up. She said, I know who you are. And she started crying.
Wow.
And she's like, you're Storm. Oh my gosh, I watched you. And then she was talking about the events that she loved and how she always wanted to do it. And but the whole time she's crying. And like, it's moments like that
Yeah.
that I think, and I get emotional
Yeah.
because it's moments like that. And that's why I'm a life fitness recovery coach today, because I've been through my share of stuff, Lori.
Right.
I've been dealing with, alcoholism. I've been dealing with homelessness. I've been dealing with a lot, but I've overcome that.
Can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah.
What happened after the show was over? Where did you go? What happened? And
Well, if I was to be honest, I don't know if I can.
Why not?
Because I called somebody who works on the Gladiators on their ship.
This is my podcast. We can talk about anything.
Okay, so what happened was, Mike Adamley.
Mm-hmm.
Now you and I know that some of those gladiators some of the contenders did not get on that show because they were good.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I'm just saying.
Right.
So I noticed that there was a contender that got with an announcer,
Mm-hmm.
and at the time, Kim was our makeup artist.
Right.
You can put two and two together.
Right.
I was telling her about because I was close to Kim at the time. She was cool.
Right.
So I was telling her the warning signs that I saw.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, calling an announcer on his stuff, they didn't want me back on the show.
Wow. That's sad.
And I know for a fact.
Okay. So they didn't ask you back. Then what happened? Where'd you go?
Well, then it's like, people, when they talk about being in the limelight and stuff and then not being, there's a huge void in your life. There's a huge transition.
Yes.
Because it gets to the point where it's very addictive. Like that becomes you. You know what I mean? And
so for me, I hear what you're saying because it's like, it's your identity. I mean, your identity for a while, you were Storm, and then all of a sudden you're not. You're always going to be Storm, but then all of a sudden you were not. So
right.
it's that identity. I went through a major depression when the show ended, and I was no longer in the limelight. So keep going. I hear what you're saying.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And so it gets to the point where you kind of lose yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I started drinking again. I was sober the whole time doing the Gladiators because there's no way I could have drank the way that I did and functioned that high. There's no way. Even though some of the Gladiators at the end of the shows like to juice it up a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
More than a little bit. That's another thing why I was very, very sorry, very, very blessed and grateful to have you, Lori, because while everybody else was drinking and doing what they did, we were faithful and we stayed in the back of the bus. And you helped me stay sober. And I really, here I go again, getting emotional, but I really appreciated that. You being there for me. And you didn't realize it, but
I had no idea.
Yeah.
So you started drinking. So you started drinking again, kind of started spiraling a little bit. And then what happened? Where'd you land?
To tell you the truth, I don't really remember.
Okay.
There are parts of my life that I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
But I just know that it got to the point where I got bad. And then, my parents had won the lottery. So they moved to Myrtle Beach. And I ended up going back to Myrtle Beach.
Mm-hmm.
But it's weird. Like they say, you go from the fire, the fire into the frying pan.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up becoming a nightclub owner and a bouncer at one of the top gay Illusions bar. And again, there was a fan that told me that she remembers me throwing her roommate in a puddle of mud because he was being rude and I had to bounce him out of the club. And I just got it today. It's weird, but I got into because in Myrtle Beach, there's a lot of strip joints. And like, if you're not working there, you're not going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
So during the day, I was a trainer, a personal trainer. But then at night, I was working at Illusions, one of the top bars in Myrtle Beach, until 6 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-mm.
And like, I was running myself down.
Right.
Because I was trying to, I think, fill that void.
Right. So then I heard you were in San Diego for a while. And somebody said, obviously it's on the internet, Google articles, to where you were actually homeless living on the street for a little while.
Yes. Well,
That must
yes.
have been scary as shit.
Well, it was, and not only that, Lori, it's scary by yourself, but
Yeah.
imagine having a child.
No way. Absolutely no way. I can't even imagine that. I mean,
I, and the problem was too is because also I had to have my knee was bugging me,
mhm,
and I had to have another surgery.
mhm.
So, like when you don't have anybody, it's hard. And when people talk about being on their own, like I said, imagine having a child that you protect. And I'm not out there prostituting.
How old was
I'm
he at the
not out
time?
there. I still kept my son safe.
How old was your son when you were actually living out?
I would say maybe right before his teen
Okay.
years.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
that
but
had to have been rough.
so then what happened is I was out in the parking lot at St. Vincent's. I remember it very clearly.
Mhm,
St. Vincent's is a big, huge, like homeless. They help the homeless,
mhm.
and I was in a parking lot where they were giving out food and free supplies. And I came across this guy called Sean
Mhm.
and Sean Shepherd, and he coerced me. And this is what I'll use exactly.
Okay.
He coerced me because he said, "Oh, I have a room at my house. You come over to my house, and you'll be okay." But he had an ulterior motive. One, he was attracted to me. He turned off. One of the reasons he was attracted to me, I'll start that. Two, he wanted to exploit me by being Storm because he had a foundation. So he was trying to
Oh,
make me the face of his foundation. He
okay.
even got to the point where he tried to reach out to Johnny Ferraro and some of the gladiators to do a commercial on homelessness. And not only that, listen, Sherry Shepherd from The View
Mhm,
offered to pay 6 months' rent for Creighton and I to have our own place.
mm.
But because of Sean, it ended up going into his foundation instead.
Oh, that's so wrong.
He controlled all my Twitter,
Mhm.
all my interactions. Wherever I went, he sat there and he says, "Oh, he was my chauffeur and all this." No, I couldn't go anywhere without him going because he always wanted to be in the limelight.
Mm.
I couldn't do an interview without him, nothing.
Yeah, there's a
So
whole article he wrote on the internet about the situation. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
sure that
and he
you
sat
read
there and
it. Yeah.
yeah, and he sat there and he said that my son's shoes are smelly. Do you know why?
That I didn't
Because he
know.
would no, listen, it's stupid stuff like that. But he wouldn't let us bring our shoes inside so they get wet. But he wouldn't let us dry them in the dryer.
But aren't
So
all
obviously,
teenagers' food shoes smelly anyway?
exactly. He wouldn't let us eat in our room.
Uh-huh.
He wouldn't let me do certain things.
So he was a
He wouldn't
control
let me do
freak.
totally. Then I was on the phone with one of my clients that I trained. Her last name is Lindsay, but I trained her and her son worked at a Gold's Gym that I was working
Mhm.
at the time. And I was telling her how much I couldn't stand Sean and how he was controlling and everything. Do you know he was right outside the door? Do you know all the money that people were sending me that he was like putting out there, like helper, helper, helper? It was all going to him, not me or Creighton. And he heard everything I had to say about how I thought he was a control freak and all this stuff. Then on top of it, one of my exes got a hold of him. He didn't know I was gay. So
Mm.
now that means he doesn't have a chance with me.
Right.
So all at once, within about an hour, he told me to pack my shit. Exactly. Creighton was in school. He told me to pack my shit and he dropped me off at St. Vincent's, where it's a process to get into St. Vincent's.
Right.
No money. He didn't give me any money or anything. He basically told me to F off, kept all the money. And not only that, Sherry Shepherd gave me and Sean tickets to go to her wedding because he finagled her to give him the money towards his foundation. Do you know that he went? And when he went, she told me that he tried to sit there and get all her guests to donate, like in a pushy way, to donate to his his foundation.
So it sounds like there's a lot of people that take advantage of the homeless situation and with their
Yes,
nonprofits to benefit themselves. Deb, I'm so
very much
sorry that
so.
you had to go through all that. That sucks. I mean, that's
Mm,
just, I mean, it had to have been hard for you. But the good thing
It,
is look where you're at today.
right.
Yes, doing better. Your son's doing better. You're a life coach. I mean,
Yeah.
girl, you're so much better. I'm so proud of you that you actually pulled yourself out of that. I mean, it was just that's awesome. I mean, I know that we could sit here and talk about our lives for like forever because we have so much and we haven't talked
Right.
for what, 25 years?
Yeah.
You know, but
Yeah.
I wanted to get your side and your story because so many things are out there. I mean, obviously you can't believe everything on the internet. You
Right.
cannot.
Right.
And I mean, you're an amazing example that you can do the hills and valleys, you know, because that's obviously, I mean, yeah, I totally understand you. You have an addiction. You're always going to battle it. But here's the thing. You've got a son, you're raising him. I heard that he's an amazing kid
Yeah.
and you're doing an amazing job.
Thank you, Lori. And I feel like I am. And the people that I want to help are people that have been, there's this thing that I my mom told me. She says, people in life keep going down the road and falling into the same hole. They do the same thing and expecting different results, but they fall in that hole.
Mhm.
And one day I'm walking down the street and I hear this woman crying. And I look down and she's in the hole and she's asking for help. But people are throwing like keys or food or books, all that stuff, but it's not helping her get out of the hole.
Right.
So until one day I go back to the hole and I jump in.
Mhm.
And she says, that was a stupid, messed up thing to do. Now we're both stuck. And I tell her, no, I've been here and I know the way out.
Good.
And that's what I truly try to be to the people that I'm a life fitness coach to, because I can bring so much to the table and that people just don't realize it. And I just can't doesn't live here. And I just refuse to give up.
I love
I've
that.
had 5 knee replacements. I'm a pacemaker. I
You're
feel like the
the ever ready bunny.
yeah, or a cheaper version of the bionic woman.
Oh my God. I had so much fun with you on the show. I am so happy that we got to be such good friends and teammates. And I mean, time has gone by so fast and there's no way that we cannot stay connected.
And not only that, but we've been through too much together, Lori.
I know.
And I've always, when you call and you say, "Hey girl," it's like Debbie, Debbie, Deb, and so you just like brighten my life, you brighten my day. I mean, I love you. I
Thank
respect
you.
and I love you and the things you've done and where you are and continue to be. And the thing is that my Lori that I know never has changed.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
It's like a constant keep going. It's like, okay, that didn't work. Let's try this. Okay, that didn't work. Let's try this.
And it's like I'm writing a book. It's like I'm writing a book now, but the thing is that it's like I feel like the older I get, the more chapters I have to write. You
There
know
you
what I
go.
mean?
You've got an
So
entire life to write about.
yeah,
But
I
you got
do.
to finish.
And I know what I'd like to do. I'd like to be like on TED one time. I'd like to go around and motivate women because I know how to advocate very effectively.
Mhm.
Because that's, when you're a single mom and like there's been times that I've been homeless living out of my car.
Wow.
But again, I've never sat there and sold myself,
Mhm.
sold my body, sold my soul, nothing. And when you really are forthright and honest about your intentions
Mhm.
and you have a true spirit and a soul to you, people really are willing to help you. Because
Oh,
there's times where I had no food and I would go into the nearest McDonald's, tell them honestly where I was and who I was, and they would sit there and help my son and I out and give us food.
amazing.
And I mean, even police officers, when we were sleeping in our car, checked on us to make sure we're okay or told us where to park, where we wouldn't be bothered.
Right.
I mean, imagine being in a car for 4 months
No way. I can't. I can't. I mean,
until that car gets stolen.
oh, That's not good.
So you come out from trying to get shopping whatever when I was able to find out that my car, my guitar, my son's
Everything.
PlayStation, everything's gone.
Oh my God, girl. That is so sad. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. It happens, but I just feel like I'm stronger. And I feel like today there's nothing I can't do.
That's why the song was made. That doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Right?
All right.
Right.
So I am so thank you so much for coming on today. And please come
Thank you
back.
for having me.
You're gonna come back because we just touched the surface.
I know.
I know. And there's so much. I just want to say thank you so much, Debbie. I'm so
You're
excited.
welcome.
Storm, I love you. And you're
I love
coming
you
back.
more.
Thank you so much for listening to Chillin' with Ice. And don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and share wherever you listen to your podcast. Remember to follow us on Patreon and YouTube at Chillin' with Ice. And on Instagram and TikTok, you can follow me at lori.ice.fetrick. I look forward to chilling with you next time here on Chillin' with Ice.